Booker, are you afraid of God?
What a game this still is. 7 years it's been since Bioshock Infinite came out, and it holds up like it came out yesterday, and I'm not even joking. I was given the Bioshock collection a while back by the lovely people at 2K, or Take-Two, I don't know which it was that gave me the code, but I'm thankful. I played some of Bioshock 1 both on my own and on a stream for my main channel, but also for Horsey and Fox. I don't think we ever delved into 2, that's the one people usually don't like, I think, but I never actually touched Infinite. Now, I played this game when it came out some years ago now. Well, 7 to be precise, like I just said. But I hadn't played it since. I always say it's one of my favorite games, but I never actually went back to revisit it. And I think it's because it left such a lasting impression on me that I never felt I needed to go back. That first experience was all I needed for a very long time until, for whatever reason, the other day, I just really wanted to go back. After Ghost of Tsushima and my other big videos, I wanted to do something lesser, but in no way lesser, if that makes sense. And I just needed to hop back into this game, and I do not regret it at all. Bioshock Infinite is a game that I believe most people adore. I feel it did get some criticism back at the time of release because they scaled back a lot of what we saw from demos and trailers, but it's been 7 years and I really don't care for all of that. What we have is utterly stellar, and I can honestly say I probably wouldn't change a thing. It's a game that nails pretty much everything it does, from its pacing, characterization, art style, gunplay, level design, and let's not forget the fucking narrative. Everything is near flawless. So let's dive in. Let me unpack my replay experience and let's talk about Bioshock Infinite. But before all that, this video is brought to you by the Ridge wallet. Is your old wallet falling apart, unnecessarily big, old? Well, Ridge has got you covered. It holds up to 12 cards with a clip for cash on the back, and there's over 30 colors. You got your carbon fiber, you've got your burnt titanium, you've got your forged carbon, anything you want. Personally, I went with the matte black because I like the sleek and simple look. It's incredibly durable, and each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty, so effectively you could use the same wallet for the rest of your life. And they also provide a service that allows you to test drive for 45 days, so if you aren't happy, you can send it back for a full refund, so it can't even hurt to give one a go. There's a reason they have over 30,000 5-star reviews though. And on top of that, don't forget the RFID blocking technology, which protects against digital pickpocketing, which is a huge benefit. If you're interested, head to my link in the description, ridge.com/lasers, and use code lasers for 10% off at the checkout. That's ridge.com/lasers and using code lasers for 10% off. Now, hopping back into this game, obviously I couldn't unremember the... forget. Why did I say unremember as if... There's not a word for it, idiot. I couldn't forget the ending. There's no way you can erase that sort of impact from your mind, but what I had forgotten was everything else. I guess what I'm saying is the only thing I really remember was the spoiler alert. Even though I already gave a spoiler warning, I can't be too careful. Please play the game if you haven't, because I'm about to ruin one of the best stories ever. Booker is Comstock. But beyond that, I physically couldn't remember how we got there, why that was the case, or anything. Which honestly was pretty fucking neat, because everything came as a surprise. Sure, once I hit certain points, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, but it came as a surprise nonetheless, so I was basically experiencing this for the first time again. The game begins, and upon a replay, it's so clear from dialogue and music, etc., the story that's being told. From the classic piece Will the Circle Be Unbroken, which perfectly encapsulates this time loop we're experiencing, as well as the lines from the Latesses, who appear frequently throughout the game.
Assist. Perhaps you should ask him. I imagine he has a greater interest in getting there than I do.
I suppose he does. There's no point in asking.
Why not?
Because he doesn't row.
He doesn't row?
No, he doesn't row.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Suggesting they know the outcome of multiple timelines and are debating about which one this is. You also get the opening quote of the game, essentially explaining why Booker is remembering why he's going to Columbia wrong. But to a new player, these things seem so strange and confusing, obviously for everything to come together at the end. But essentially, the setup is that we are Booker DeWitt. We are in a fuck ton of debt, and we've been told that if we can go and fetch a girl for some dudes, they'll wipe away our debt. Which is proper shady, impossible human trafficking, but I guess we go with it because we must be in a lot of debt. After the lighthouse and some creepy Bioshock vibes, we break through the clouds into Columbia.
10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
And upon seeing it for the first time again was just spectacular. Obviously a similar sequence to entering Rapture for the first time in Bioshock 1, and the sense of awe is absolutely nailed. We walk through what I assume is a church or a cathedral, giving us the history of the Comstock family, etc. And finally, we reach the outside, where we're greeted with this huge, sprawling, floating city. It's beautiful even for 2020 standards. The vibe is so serene and it feels so immersive. You've got fireworks in the distance, people talking, going about their business, and airships everywhere. It's so dense and so interesting. They really do get the feeling of discovery just right. The way you have people talking to you, or the band that starts to sing, kids playing in the street, you get this sense that you're in the happiest place on earth, which is exactly what they want you to think for now. You get introduced to all of the core mechanics in a really cool way, the vigors and the gunplay through what are the funfair attractions, which are fun and also super immersive too. I wanted to go and play all of them because, I don't know, it was fun. But then the true darkness of Columbia is revealed, and a narrative element that I don't think fully went into my head 7 years ago, or at least I didn't remember it being so central, and that's this underlying racism, sexism, homophobia, all of those terrible things that come from devotion to religion, in a cult-like way. Obviously you can be religious and not be those things, but this is showing the darker side of that indoctrination to systems that want to do wrong. This game plays with ideas of white supremacy, and that race being above others. I was honestly shocked at some of the stuff we see here. They don't shy away from making it dark and really villainizing this city. And very quickly you go from being in awe of Columbia to being disgusted with it and wanting desperately to leave. The best parts of this game kick in, however, once we meet our companion Elizabeth, the girl we're looking for to wipe away our debt. It's kind of crazy that Troy Baker plays both Booker and Joel, and those games came out the same year and deal with similar themes. It's a nice coincidence. The build up to meeting Elizabeth is so intriguing. You go through these labs and test chambers, you pick up different voxophones to listen to the scientists' research and whatnot. She genuinely sounds terrifying, and then you meet her, and...
Hello? Hey! Knock it off! Stop it!
She's so charming and just such a quality companion from a gameplay standpoint and a story one.
Catch, Booker!
She develops so well with you over the course of the game, and I love experiencing everything with her. She makes this oddly eerie world seem not so bad, and it's nice to see her experience the world after being locked up for so long. There's also these little moments that I thought were cool, like when you wander into the men's restroom to find loot. She won't follow you in, but she will follow you into the women's restroom. It's just kind of cool. The game plays like butter, and by that, I mean it's smooth as fuck. The gameplay is just straight up fun, it feels great. Each gun has different weight, is different for certain circumstances. You've got the upgrade system in the vending machines, and then couple that with the vigors allows for you to go wild. I did find myself towards the end of the game sticking with mostly the hand cannon and the RPG, but once you find a setup that works for you, why change it, right? And as for the vigors, I mostly used Bucking Bronco and Shock Jockey, but I dabbled in a few others. I feel like on harder difficulties you'd need to switch it up more, but I became comfortable with what I liked, and it made the experience fun the more I became familiar with certain combinations. Also, the bloody set pieces in this game. The one escaping from Elizabeth's tower is so tense when you're first introduced to the Songbird, and you're always playing these. The one where you're fighting alongside the Vox Populi, who are a rebellion group, and you have to take down a whole ass Zeppelin. You grab a rail, a system which never gets old, you find your way up and you take that shit down. It's so crazy just jumping out and watching it burn up and explode. It's magnificent. The game allows for you to explore so many areas of Columbia, from the more metropolitan areas to the beaches and leisure areas. You got the industrial sector, the slums, and so many more areas that make Columbia feel like this truly fully realized place, and it's so immersive. Exploration then offers one of the more interesting components of this game, the tears. Now, tears are used to open, well, tears in the fabric of reality. Elizabeth's able to do this because part of her body resides in another reality, the one that she wasn't born in, and it allows her to open tears to her heart's content. Now, these can be used in gameplay scenarios, which is great fun, allowing for ammo or health packs, turrets and shit, but what I find more interesting is the narrative capacity in which they're used, allowing Elizabeth to practically bring the tears to our world, which means we're continuously visiting different realities and then staying in them. We get to explore worlds where certain characters didn't die. We get to experience a world where Booker was a revolutionary hero, and that causes some major complications leading to Elizabeth's first kill, which is quite a moment.
Elizabeth.
I guess it runs in the family.
Whoa, hey, easy.
But all of these locations and events flow so well together that you're never confused, and you're always keeping up despite the pace being super fast. But the pace obviously isn't always fast. We have great downtime moments like this one with the guitar, which is easily missable.
Will the circle...
It's just a nice moment that lets us feel closer to these characters. The game is split almost into chapters, and these chapters are determined by the areas of the world. As you progress, it gets darker and darker, tonally but also visually. As Elizabeth uncovers more about her past, as Booker remembers more about his, the two characters become closer, but the game itself also becomes a lot more eerie. You have this whole segment where Elizabeth is split up from you and you have to find her, only to realise you've ended up much further in the future through some sort of tear. A future where you never came for Elizabeth, and she was mistreated and warped by Comstock. You meet an old Elizabeth who contacts you to guide the younger Elizabeth to not end up down the same path, understanding how time must be changed in order to fix things, which leads to the climactic ending. After killing Comstock and after the incredible set piece on the airship, you take down the tower where you first found Elizabeth, restoring her powers, but also restoring her memories from all of her previous lives in the other reality. They establish earlier on that people from other worlds remember the other worlds and remember their death, or their other life, which makes them erratic and lose their mind. Elizabeth is unique as she can control these tears, and so her memories make her wise and powerful, but it's wrong. The reason she is the way she is, and the reason there has been so much death and destruction, all has a start and end point, and I love how everything just comes together in these final scenes, as we realise everything we did was part of a loop, part of many worlds that are so similar but also different. Arriving in Rapture is a great sequence and a great throwback to the original games. After you appear and realise where you are, it's quite a moment, and then Elizabeth explains. The entire reason the ability to travel to different worlds exists, and the entire reason there are so many of the same world, is because of Booker's choices. There is one turning point in which it changes Booker's fate and entwines them together. In one universe, Booker takes the baptism after Wounded Knee and becomes Zachary Comstock, creating Columbia with the help of Rosalind Lattès, who creates the ability to travel across worlds, meets her own self, who's a man, and Comstock becomes infertile and needs an heir to continue his legacy, and so tasks the Lattesses with retrieving his daughter from another timeline. The other timeline being one where Booker didn't take the baptism, got married, his wife died, he got into a ton of debt, and ended up selling his daughter like a madman, and then wallowed in his own self-pity for 20 years. These worlds intertwine because Robert Lattès feels great regret for his actions and wants to make it right. He gives Rosalind an ultimatum to reunite Booker and Anna, now named Elizabeth, otherwise he'd leave back to his own world, leaving her alone, and so she helps him. They open a tear to bring Booker into that world and to Columbia. Booker, being in another time and another world, rearranges his own memories, which we see in the main game when they cross into another timeline. We also see that from the quote at the very beginning of the game. Booker struggles to keep his memories straight, and all of this that we've experienced leads to what must be done. Elizabeth has to put an end to these multiple timelines, to these crossing realities, and to do that, like Booker says, they have to smother Comstock in his crib. But Comstock was born the day that Booker took that baptism, and so instead of taking the baptism, Elizabeth and all her other selves drown Booker in the pond, erasing that timeline from existence, meaning Elizabeth never existed and Comstock never existed. However, what it does is fix the timelines. The post-credit scene shows the Booker who didn't take the baptism but is still with his daughter, and that's because the other Booker never became Comstock anymore, and so nobody ever wanted to buy his daughter, and so the timelines were saved. The only reason I believe it was even possible to cheat time is because the Lattesses went through every single possible reality until eventually they manipulated events that would work exactly as they needed them to. It's wild, but it all makes sense. It took me a lot of contemplation after I finished it the first time, and even this time I had to collect my thoughts. Even writing this out was basically my way of coming to terms with just how mad this story is and seeing if I could properly understand it. Time travel and branching realities are used incredibly often in media, and sometimes it's just done so poorly, more often than not. But this is not one of those times. Bioshock Infinite plays with timelines, alternate realities, and time travel, and somehow completely nails it. Not to mention the wonderful narrative on top of Booker reuniting with who we later find out is his daughter and helping her. Their development together is one of the most enjoyable things about the game, and that coupled with the glorious written narrative, the superb gameplay, and the beautiful world just makes for a game that is totally engaging and completely riveting throughout. It's not often that you get to experience a game with story, world, and gameplay just as tight as this one has. This is a game I will continue to recommend. It's a game I will continue to play, and a game I will continue to love.
No. But I'm afraid of you.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. It's not as big as the ones I usually do, but I'm trying to do some smaller ones here and there as well, whilst also appreciating the game as much as I can. Sometimes you don't have to dive in and analyze every single gameplay detail to its last fiber. Sometimes you can just sit down and you can talk about something in a little more of a relaxed manner. I do hope you guys enjoyed that. If there's any other games that you'd like to see videos like this on, I can definitely take that into consideration. Leave them down in the comment section below. Obviously, my bigger retrospectives are for bigger things, but I'd love to make more smaller videos like this on stuff like Bioshock Infinite. Thank you to everyone supporting the channel recently. It's been really, really great. Thank you to everybody over on Patreon. I appreciate you all a fuck ton, as always. And with that said, I'll see you guys very soon for another video. Catch you later, gamers. Bye-bye.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by, by and by? Is a better home awaiting in the sky, in the sky?